Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another round of sound. Put on another cup of coffee and stay up with us as we have some sports conversation on the way. Bob Pompeani here. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. We have a lot to get into tonight. Of course, the #1 topic and the primary topic tonight will be the Steelers in a much-needed win over Seattle, 23-20, although this went longer than I think anyone thought at halftime when the Steelers had a 14-0 lead. Here's your panel to discuss this and other stuff we have tonight. Josh Yohe from The Athletic, who does a great job covering the Penguins. We'll get to the Penguins a little later in the show. Below him, it's Paul Zeise, 93.7 The Fan, the Paul Zeise program, and the Post-Gazette. And Andrew Fillipponi from the PM team, 93.7 The Fan, and the Pony Express national show on CBS Sports Radio. Andrew, I'll start with you for you. The Steelers got a win tonight, but the second half, there were a lot of things I did not like. They forgot to tackle their defense, which I thought had pretty easy time in the first half because the offense dominated time of possession. They weren't on the field all that much. Got owned in the second half. Yes, it's a win, but how much of a concern was that for you?
Well, it was a big one. The third quarter, the defense took that 15-minute quarter off, and the offense did in the first quarter with 3 punts. So really, big chunks of the game, your offense and defense let you down. Now, T.J. Watt made the biggest play of the game. Najee Harris, I thought, was impressive. Ben even made some good throws. They won. And had they lost to Geno Smith and a backup quarterback in the 32nd, the lowest ranked, the worst defense in the NFL at home, their season would have been over, Bob. So there are huge concerns for me as far as, is this team good enough to win the AFC North, get into the playoffs? But all of those things would have gone completely up in flames, up in smoke, had they lost this game. And at least now we get to debate if they even have a shot at writing their season because they somehow are 3-3.
Well, I mean, I think the big thing what we saw was a couple of things. Number one, I'm tired. I don't want anybody to tell me again that they think Ben Roethlisberger is still good enough to play because the guy can't make throws. It's so easy to see. They can't call plays because they are afraid. They don't know what he can actually run. He can't throw the ball down the field. He hit a couple of plays last week, and everybody declared that he's back. I mean, tonight he missed Claypool deep. He missed Deontay Johnson. He underthrew him. Every single throw he throws, it's like a wounded duck. It takes 15 minutes to get to wherever it's going to, and then his receivers get lit up because they got to wait for it to come to them. I mean, that's where I would start with this team's problems. Secondly, I mean, obviously without Tyson Alualu and Stephon Tuitt, their defensive line is compromised at times, and they got pushed around a lot by Seattle, and that's probably going to happen. But at the end of the day, I don't care really what happened on defense. They only really gave up, 17 points or 20 points or whatever it was. At the end of the day, they should have had about 40 against that defense, and they couldn't. They had to grind out, and they need T.J. Watt to be Superman in order to kick a field goal because they would have never gotten the ball down there again. That is where you begin and end with this team's problems, is their offense is not good enough, and it starts with their quarterback.
Well, Paul, you're right. Their offense isn't good enough. It's clearly a limited group. I didn't think Ben was quite as bad as you thought he was tonight. I think this is just what he is. I think it's a completely dysfunctional offense in general. The only chance they have is for their defense to be great. And there's a lot of talent and a lot of first-round picks on that defense. And to be pushed around in the second half by a Geno Smith-led offense was not a very encouraging sign. I give Watt a lot of credit for what he did in overtime. He completely took over the game. That's what great players do. This is not a great defense. And the only way they're going to be a playoff team or to be competitive, I think, is if that defense plays great. And they are what they are, guys. They're an average team. They look great in the first half. They looked awful in the second half. And guess what? That's what average teams do, and they're 3-3. It's pretty fitting.
Yeah, I think the offense, I would agree overall, against that Seattle team, I would have expected a lot more points. I thought what I saw in the first half when they got going was a good indication of what they need to do, Andrew. That is possess it as much as they can, run it as hard as they can, open up some passes as a result of play action, which is almost non-existent in this offense. It has to become they have to have it. And they started to show some signs of life in that regard. But if they don't do that, what else can they do offensively?
Well, they need to not turn the ball over, right? And Ben, with the pump fake thing, was a situation in the game where, you put Seattle in a spot to get points. Now they didn't, but that's a situation where you don't really have any margin for error anymore. I don't see Paul's take here that Ben – I did not think Ben looked like 2015 Peyton Manning in this game. And I would tell you if I thought he looked like Duck Hodges or somebody out there, I thought he was subpar. I thought he was average or mediocre. I did not think my big takeaway from this game was that Roethlisberger is ready for the glue factory and might need to be replaced by Mason Rudolph when they go to Cleveland in 2 weeks. It's an offense where you're right, Bob. When they go run past 50-50 and they're able to get 4 yards a run, they give themselves 3rd and short. And that opens up the playbook for guys like Pat Freiermuth over the middle, who I thought was probably their most encouraging sign offensively tonight, that when they went to their rookie tight end, he actually made plays for them. And for whatever reason, there's been a reluctance to incorporate him in the passing game early in the season.
Well, I think the thing that this team seems to have perfected is the art of completing a pass on 3rd down and still having to kick, which is because they only want to throw the ball 3 yards or 4 yards for whatever reason, because Ben Roethlisberger has to get it out of his hands. And again, I don't know if he's just not physically capable of making throws or if he doesn't want to stand in there anymore or whatever. But
he was barely hit tonight. It was not an issue of him
exactly
under siege.
because he throws
sacked.
it in 2. He throws it in 2 seconds. He throws it in a second and a half. You could take the line off the field, and guys like and these defensive players couldn't get to him because he throws it so quick. But I hear people say, well, those receivers have to get, if it's a 3rd and 8, they got to get 8 yards. They have to have time to get 8 yards, and they don't because he's dumping it off in 1.8 seconds or whatever. The biggest limitation this offense has is their quarterback can't make basic throws, and if he can't make basic throws, you got to get rid of him.
Are you suggesting a change?
I'm sorry,
they have a bye week now, Paul. Are you suggesting they change heading into Cleveland?
I'm suggesting they either figure out what this guy can do and do it, but stop running an offense that looks like you're afraid to allow him to play the position of quarterback. I mean, at the end of the day, Seattle had a guy who's a journeyman who hasn't played in, 9 years or something, and they at least were able to throw the ball down the field some. Ben had, I think he had 2 really good opportunities to make big plays. He threw one over Chase Claypool's head that landed somewhere in the north side, and the other one he threw to Deontay Johnson was underthrown. Otherwise, it would have been a touchdown. I mean, to me, it just gets to a point where when you watch this team call plays, it's very clear they understand, and every team they play understands, their quarterback is limited. I don't know that you can play that way.
Josh, what do you say?
There's no question he is limited. And I agree with you, Paul. They need to be more aggressive, and let's see if he can still do it or not. Maybe he can't. And one thing it's really doing, we aren't noticing Chase Claypool in games. I know he had a good game against Denver. They need to get him involved.
I don't think he was very good tonight, though, himself.
No, he was terrible tonight. That's my point. Whether it was Ben's fault or not, he took penalties. He hasn't caught a 50-50 ball all season. It looks to me like he's running wrong routes a lot. He needs to be better, especially with Juju out
Bob,
of the lineup.
how about the James Washington thing? I mean, to me, that's a subplot to this game. I heard all week about how James Washington, he's just as good as Juju. There's no real loss there. It's kind of next man up. This is why you don't trade the guy. He played 8 snaps. 8.
Which was stunning to me.
They're going to Ray McLeod with the game on the line on 3rd down. They're throwing it to a gadget player. I mean, that's just ridiculous to me.
Yes, it is.
I agree with that. When I saw the snaps, I couldn't believe only 8. We got to go to a break here. We'll continue this conversation coming up. We'll also delve into what is coming up next after the bye week and the opportunity there for the Steelers head-to-head with Cleveland, and then a couple of other games they should win at home. But nothing's easy in the NFL, as we saw again tonight. We'll be back with more right here on KDKA. The number 1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by number 1 Cochran. Go one better. And by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.